Welcome back to Broken Bobby's transformation page. In the late 80s, I became involved with drugs and would eventually become part of that lifestyle of trafficking, addiction, and violence. Over the next 20 years, I would be in and out of jail and prison. If you're thinking about trying something or you're dealing with addiction, your life don't need to go down the same path mine did. I hurt a lot of people, both physically and emotionally. These are my stories of how I transformed my life, and you can too. Let's get. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see by the title and the thumbnail, this is 5 things about jail intake you should know. Now, I'm from Southern California, so I'm basing my stories off of Southern California jail intakes. I've gone through intake in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, as well as Los Angeles County. So I've done it a few times. I've got about 12 felony convictions, so did it once or twice, But before we get into today's story, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a comment. Let me know what your experience has been with jail intakes in Southern California, especially if you've been to some of the jails I haven't. I'm curious to hear. Also, share the video. It really helps to grow the channel, and become a member. Hit that join button and take a look at the different levels of membership and go from there. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the donors from last night's video, Saturday night. It'll probably be Monday morning by the time you see this, but yeah, I want to give a shout out to the people that donated during the video last night. Sorry I didn't write down the names. I'm still learning this stuff, so I'll have a tablet and a pen tonight for the next video so I can shout out the people that donate. I truly appreciate it. So, 5 things that you should know if you're going to jail. And intake is inevitable anywhere you go, whether it be county jail, whether it be prison. You're going to go through an intake process. And typically, like for my experience, if maybe you go in on like a Tuesday night or something that's slow, maybe it might be 6 to 8 hours. If you go in on a Friday night, good luck. It's going to take a while. But and this also affects the way the intake process goes, to be perfectly honest. Middle of the week, it's typically smoother sailing, if you will, but it's a roll of the dice what you're going to get with intake. So the first thing you should know about county jail intake is this is a very volatile place. This is the most unstable part of any county jail. Typically, coming into the county jail, you may still be under the influence of something. You could have some mental issues that, I'm speaking of other people, not you personally, but you may be dealing with people with mental issues that have not been diagnosed yet. They may be under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and this definitely changes the way people are going to act. Typically, once you're housed in a housing unit, everybody is, no longer, they're coming down off of whatever it was, or they're sober at this point. So it is more stable once you get to a housing unit. Now, for me, the one that really sticks out to me as an example of how volatile intake can be, when I was in LA County Jail coming in, they had basically, we were down almost to the end of the process, and they basically had a Southsider white cell and a black cell. And I've told this story before. It's called Getting Jumped in LA County Jail. You can go back and check that one out if you'd like. But, there was like 2 woods in there, and then a bunch of Southsiders, and then the other cell had blacks. And some guys from 18th Street. Shout out to 18th Street. That's one of the larger gangs in Los Angeles. If you don't know, uh, like 4 of them got brought into the holding cell, and they were gangbanging on everybody. And that's another thing about intake is people still, they haven't moved into the jail mentality yet. They're still in the street mentality, and a lot of these guys are gangbanging. So they come in, hey, where you from, fool? Where you from? And typically, when you get to uh, a normal housing unit, all that stuff pretty much goes away, depending on which race you are and the politics of your race. But you know, yeah, they were gang banging, and I said where I was from, and basically I got jumped on that one, and they pulled me out, and they ended up putting me back in there with those guys. It was by my choice. Let me be clear about that, because they told me basically there's 2 cells, you got to pick one, and I knew I was going to prison, so there was only one option, because these things can follow you. And if somebody says, "Oh yeah, that fool was in the black holding cell," like that would be a problem later on. So uh, yeah, that's the first one. Now the 5th one is the most important one, so stick with me on this one, guys, if you would. The second one is, and if you get stuck for a long time on intake, you're going to be starving in there. You're going to be hungry. It just is what it is. Occasionally they'll come through and maybe give you a couple sandwiches and one of those little juices like your kid would get in their school lunch. But, that's about all. You're not going to get a tray when you're in the intake cells. If you're lucky, you'll get a couple of sandwiches. And, this ties back to the volatility of intake. I've seen guys say, you know what, I don't want that stuff. I don't want those sandwiches. And guys get into a fight over who's going to have those extra sandwiches. So it's definitely a very volatile place. And like I said, you're starving while you're in there. You can't wait till breakfast time rolls around so you can actually get a tray, So let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is you're probably going to get into a fight. Like I said, it depends on what day of the week. If you're coming in on a Friday or Saturday night, chances are there's a lot more drunk people in the cell, in the holding tanks. And, it creates problems, And the thing is, the deputies that are doing intake are very aggressive. Like they're not going to, if you get out of line, you're going to eat cement, basically. They're going to put you on the ground and probably put a knee in the back of your back, and that stuff hurts. The goon squad is down there, and if you don't know what the goon squad is, they're a bunch of cops that look like John Cena, basically. They all got extra medium shirts on so that their arms just look ridiculously huge, and a lot of those guys are big guys, though, So, that's what it is with that. So let's go on to number 4. Number 4 of the things that you should know about jail intake. It's a long, tedious process. You get, they pack you in these holding cells, like beyond what the fire marshal would approve of, I'm sure, like it may be a little 10 by 15 holding cell, and there's like 40, 50 guys in there. And you're basically, it's going to be a while. So you're looking for a piece of real estate on the floor to try to catch a nap while you're waiting to be called to the next step of the process. If you're claustrophobic or something like that, I wish you the best of luck. You're going to be sleeping on that concrete floor next to a stranger, and there's probably going to be a stranger on the other side of you as well. And, there's a lot of steps to the intake process. They bring you in, they check you, they take your belt, they take your shoes and stuff like that. Anything that you could use to like unalive yourself or unalive someone else, they're going to take from you. you're going to get your photo taken. You're going to talk to a medical professional who's going to determine whether, there's mental issues, whether you have issues with wanting to unalive yourself. And like in LA County Jail, they have you go through the showers, then they dress you. Uh, they put you into another holding cell. If you're, I believe the process used to be after the shower and after you're dressed, they give you a couple sandwiches and your little sack lunch. Then, you continue the process and eventually they move you upstairs. Now, I've seen so much stuff happen in these intake cells. And honestly, in my opinion, it's the most dangerous place in any jail. Like I said, because the thing is, people are still under the influence of stuff, and some people will hear voices and stuff. I seen one guy. Uh, I'm not gonna say what race he was, but he was a big dude, and I think that he thought he was a ram. It's not funny, but he put his head down and boom, right into the holding cell door. He did that about 3 times, like he was leaky mess. And those aggressive deputies, that goon squad came and pretty much finished this dude off. I mean, it's not funny, and I'm sure there were, it was either the drugs or something, maybe some mental issues that had him doing that. I think that he honestly believed that he could ram his way out of there. And, that's really unfortunate. Mental health issues are definitely nothing to laugh about. But it was just a crazy situation on that one. And, that's just one of many crazy situations I've seen, many fights. Like it's just, I got stuck in LA County on intake one time, and it took like 72 hours to get housed. Like I was so happy to be moved to Men's Central Jail finally. Like I was starving. Uh, like they put us down in the court line holding cells at one point because they didn't have anywhere to put us. I don't know what was going on the streets at that time that the jail was so overcrowded that they just didn't have anywhere to put us because, a lot of times they'll put you in these 6-man cells in Men's Central and there's floor sleepers. Like you're sleeping on the floor basically in that 6-man cell. So the fact that they didn't even have room to put you on the floor, I like I said, I don't recall exactly what was going on in the world at that time, but like that was a really crazy one. So now we're at number 5. In my opinion, this is the most important thing that you need to know about jail intake in Southern California. The thing is, everything that you do in jail will follow you. It's a small world. Whether you're in county jail, whether you're in prison, there's always going to be somebody that's seen you do something that was inappropriate by your people's standards. And they're going to be more than willing to tell your people, whether it be one of your own people or another race, that will let them know that, hey, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Case in point, there was when I got jumped by those fine gentlemen from 18th Street, and I don't take it personal. Like it's jail. It's a different world in there. But there was another Wood in there, and he didn't do anything. He stood by and watched me get jumped, basically. And when eventually I ended up in prison, and guess who was there in prison with me? If it wasn't this guy. And, I come rolling into the building in reception, and there was a Southsider that actually went to my people before I even realized what was going on, and basically told my people, Hey, that dude, I was in LA County jail with that dude, and some guys jumped him, and homeboy didn't do anything. And ignorance is no excuse in this world. You if you're going to jail or prison, like, you better find somebody that knows what's going on and get schooled real quick. Because if you're outside of those rules, whether you realize them or not, sometimes there's some understanding, especially for like the youngsters. But if you step outside of those rules of your particular group or organization, somebody's going to see something and somebody's going to say something. And in this case, another South Sider that respected what I had did by coming back in there let my people know before I even had a chance to let them know that dude was a coward, and he cowered in the corner while I was getting jumped by four big ass dudes. And that situation was dealt with directly. They took him to the upstairs restroom in reception. This is in dorm living in Delano. And they put 3 guys in there. There were no weapons involved. This was lower level living, but they definitely raccooned him up. He was black and blue, and he wasn't allowed to stay there anymore. So that one action of him, and the thing is, maybe he was drunk or high or something out of it. I don't know. I was too busy getting my ass whooped to know whether or not. I mean, I'm just keeping it real, guys. I have no qualms with letting you know I don't win all the fights. Sometimes you take an L, and that was a case where I did. But, his actions of not acting followed him, and he's lucky that it didn't follow him to a level 4 somewhere, because they probably would have killed him. And, that's the sad reality of jail today, in prison. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Remember, if we're living the most righteous life we can, and we're participating in sobriety, and we're not out there running amok, then we won't get into these types of situations, and we won't have to worry about this stuff, right? So I hope everybody's week is off to a great start. That's my little story, my little tips about better ways to do time, and what you should know, in my opinion. So those are the 5 things about jail intake that I think you need to know. And just remember something. In California, I hear they're basically writing tickets for simple possession charges with a promise to appear in court. Keep something in mind, though, because when I was in my addiction, if you would have gave me a ticket and turned me loose, that one ticket would have turned into 5 or 6 real quick, I'm sure. So if you have a court date or something, and you have something pending, make sure you show up for that. Because once you have a failure to appear on your record, then it's no longer that write a ticket and cite release. You go into custody, and now you're not eligible for being released on your own recognizances and all of this type of stuff. So, they're giving you the rope to hang yourself. Don't do it, guys and girls. Just I know it's hard when you're active in your addiction, but it's just going to compound and compound, and what would have been 60 days in the county could turn into 6 years. So, like I said, once again, I hope everybody's week is off to a great start. If you're new to sobriety, welcome. If you're thinking about coming over to the sober side, give it a chance. Life gets better, I promise you. With the holidays coming and stuff, like, the last thing you want to do is get arrested right now and be stuck in jail for the holidays. It's the worst. So let's build a strong foundation around us, of sober people that are doing good with their lives. And chances are, if the company that you keep is who you are ultimately. If everybody's running around hitting the pipe and stuff, what do you think you're going to do? I know we think these people are our friends when we're active in our addiction, but they're not, believe me. Like I had to learn the hard way, so you wouldn't. So build that strong foundation and see where you can go with it. Family, fitness, and freedom are the things that got my life together, and they can help you as well. And don't look at the mountain, just start climbing.